Hi, everybody. Let's make sure everything looks good here. I'm thinking the answer is yes. All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. Because we have some international folks here, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that Katerina can jump on because we're doing the reading for Mimi tonight. But Katerina's in the UK, so that is 7 hours ahead. So what's that, midnight? Something like that. Do the math. And then we have a couple people from Australia. And in Australia, because I'm talking about putting together just a little bit of like some fun gear, some merchandise, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, that kind of stuff. Nothing huge, just a little selection to pick from. And Danelle said, well, since it's going to be wintertime, I'm looking for a sweatshirt. I thought, oh, that's right. Southern Hemisphere, we switch. So here in the U.S. and the Northern Hemisphere, we are entering our summertime, and thank God, because I've had enough of winter while the Southern Hemisphere is entering winter. But I don't think in Australia it actually ever gets really cold, does it? So let's say hello to everybody first before we get started. Jen, good to see you. Kimmy Cat. I'd love to see that name there. Kimmy Cat, Sherry. There's Katerina. Yep, I see her. And Sharon, welcome, you guys. Welcome. Nunya, good to see you. Who else do we have? Jess. Oh, yeah. Go, Jess. And Sharon, I think I already said hello. Did I say hi to Sharon? Yes, I did. Hi, Sharon. And Nunya. And who did I miss? Caroline, nice to see you as well. Awesome, from the sunny state of Florida and or Ireland, depending. And I think I just missed somebody. Oh, Kathy, it's nice to see you as well. All right, so guys, it is great to see you here. Kelly, good to see you as well. Yeah, I am missing Arizona. I was in Arizona last week with Kelly for a day or two, as a matter of fact, when it was beautiful and sunny and 90 degrees, and oh, I couldn't have been happier. And I get back here to Wisconsin. Jess, look at that, because the weather here was just like Wisconsin. I get back here to Colorado, and a healthy dose of Wisconsin winter weather, gray and rainy, snowy. Oh, it was just so cold. And I was really missing Arizona, and had a crazy travel adventure getting home from Arizona. Yeah, a crazy flight delay that I just won't even get all into, because I like to think that I'm a very savvy traveler, and everything goes my way when I travel, and it usually does, but not this time. So I'm just getting back on track, because I had a very exhausting day or two getting back to Colorado. And then, of course, after you're on vacation for a little while, just getting back into the swing of things. But I love Mondays too. I put that in the comment. I think it was Sherry and Sharon who both said, I love Mondays. And there used to be a song, right, about a dreary song, a sad song about Mondays, but we love Mondays here. Jody, how you doing? In Florida at the moment, where the weather is too nice and not quite hot yet. You know what? I'll take it hot every single time. Every single time. I am whatever kind of sun sign I am, I'm all about the hot weather. I don't care how hot it gets. 115, yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, no complaints there. Boontown Rat saying, I don't like Mondays. Well, yep, guess what? We are flipping that one on its head. Okay, tonight, what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about imagination, and how we can use our imagination to heal our hearts, to connect with our animals on the other side, and to do just about anything we want. Imagination is one of the most powerful tools that you have at your disposal, and we are culturally ingrained. It's culturally ingrained in us that it's just your imagination. Well, I'm going to try to convince you otherwise tonight, and show you exactly how to use your imagination, and why it's not just your imagination. It's not make-believe. And then we're going to have this reading for Mimi. And Mimi's a kitty cat, and all of a sudden the kitty cats are being very demanding is not the right word. They are insistent on having their own little reading. So Mimi is the only one we're going to be reading for tonight. And what a powerful message we've got from Mimi. So Katerina, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that what Mimi had to share with me earlier is the message that you want to hear from her, because she had some powerful, amazing messages to share that I can't wait to share with you guys. All right. Okay, let's we'll wrap up the weather conversation in just a second. Yes, your baby girl. 75 in Delaware. Yeah, see, and we haven't even quite hit that here yet in Colorado. And I moved to Colorado to get away from the cold spring times. But that's why I think from here on in, spring is going to be in Arizona because I fell in love with it. And Kelly can attest to this. The birds were everywhere. Some of you guys know that when I began to practice animal Reiki, one of the first signs that I got was this flock of birds everywhere I go. It doesn't matter where I go, there's always birds around. And I take birds as as the animals who are the most open to showing you that they see you, that if you see them, they will see you and they'll show you right back. I've talked about this many times, all the amazing bird experiences that I've had, including the little bird who I know was my father's reincarnation, or not reincarnation, but my father connecting to me through an animal when that little bird sat on the ledge of my window where there is no ledge, and sat there for a couple of hours and just shared some time with me. Okay. Yep, they were everywhere, and as soon as I came back, they were everywhere too. So I just love all my little birds, and I fell in love with Arizona. Okay, let's talk about imagination. And I'm going to go back to Arizona because this came to me as I was driving to Arizona, and I am always looking for signs. And speaking of signs, on the drive to Arizona, angel numbers everywhere. Every other license plate was an angel number. I got all of the angel numbers multiple times. Zeros through nines, including 666, which I consider to be a beautiful number and not the evil number that Hollywood has made it out to be. It was just beautiful. All the affirmations that I received as I was driving to Arizona. But I'm driving to Arizona with my son. And so my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter, who I got to spend a glorious 10 days with, we're flying in on, we're clearly on an airplane flying in, like with their little wings. But I drove. It was a 14-hour drive from here in Colorado to where we were staying in Arizona. And on the drive, my son likes to listen to a lot of podcasts, and he likes to listen to Joe Rogan. And I think some of you may have heard of Joe Rogan. Now, I heard of Joe Rogan, and I'm not, I just haven't listened to him. In my mind, Joe Rogan is a comedian, and as a comedian, he was a comedian who then started a podcast, and his podcasts were controversial, and he got banned from all kinds of social media. And this is all I knew about Joe Rogan, that he was banned from all kinds of social media, which only made him even more popular. And so that's who I started to listen to, Joe Rogan. So yeah, not your favorite, but I'm going to tell you why this came up. The angel numbers. Oh yeah, that's right. I did a series on angel numbers last summer. I'm writing that down just for next time. I did a series on angel numbers last summer, just those little short videos. But we can talk about angel numbers and what they mean as signs. And somebody else has asked to see nature signs. So we can talk more about signs. So I know, right? So that's all I knew about Joe Rogan. Haven't listened to him. And we were listening to some of the podcasts, and it was mostly about longevity and healthy lifestyle and how to keep your body healthy and how to live forever and that kind of stuff. And it was all very interesting. But then he got to a podcast about imagination, and it kind of knocked my socks off because it's everything I know about imagination from practicing with it myself. But to hear somebody speaking the words, and then to have my son listening alongside me, and us having a discussion about it and how to actually use it. And I just realized that we can use our imagination in a way that allows us to connect with animals, and in a way that allows us to connect with our animals on the other side of life, and for so much more. And I'll drop a couple other names too as I'm going through here, but I wanted to let you know where it came from. So Joe Rogan is a UFC presenter and mixed martial artist. Okay, did not know that. A UFC presenter. I'm not quite sure what that is. Only liked him on Fear Factor. Never watched it. Fear Factor, was that the show where they get dropped into a tub of spiders or something like that? Good interviewer. You're right, Jess. So that's really what I got from it. He was a very good interviewer. And the guest that he had on his show talking about this They really did a really good job. He knew how to ask very pointed questions. He knew how to make a good point, how to receive information, share contrasting views, that kind of thing. But anyway, regardless, that's where I got the idea to talk to you about imagination. And then, because I've listened to some other people that you may or may not recognize their names. So yes, that's the show. Okay. The Ultimate Fighter Mixed Martial Arts. Okay. You can tell that I don't really watch much TV. I just don't. And I missed Fear Factor. Fear Factor never really turned me on. And then whatever in the UFC. Okay. All right. So I'm going to let the comments go. I will come back to the comments, but I'm going to stop looking at them for a second and go through what I have to go through. So then the two other names that I'm going to drop, and these are two that I have listened to a lot of information from, because when I first started this journey, so I'm an animal Reiki master, and that became my vocation. My vocation became an animal Reiki master and an animal chaplain. But on the road to that vocation, I was exploring all types of different spiritual modalities. I explored everything. I wanted to know how to manifest. I wanted to know how to use all my psychic skills. Like some of you have been in the psychic class where we kind of experiment with our psychic stuff, because I think we all have that psychic ability as well. So I've explored all kinds of things, and I listened to a variety of, I wouldn't call them podcasts, but YouTube presentations essentially. And one of them who I listened to, and it's an old timey guy, and I also read some of his books and listened to some of the audiobooks, and his name is Neville Goddard. So if anyone has ever heard of Neville Goddard, old-timey kind of guy, has a funny sounding little voice with a really endearing accent. I think he was from the British West Indies or something like that. So he grew up on an island, but with a little British accent. So he's got the whole British island accent going on, and it's really very interesting to listen to. But Neville Goddard really had it all figured out when it came to using his imagination. And he would tell story after story about how he purposely used his imagination in order to create the life that he wanted. Now, we're going to talk about using imagination for creating connections with animals on the other side, because when we use our imagination, we can transcend time and space. We can transcend time, we can transcend space, and we can close the gap. And that transition means nothing. Transition is literally that, a transition, and imagination is the way to get there. And I'm just going to read a comment. Can't get out of depression. Okay, we're going to come back to that in just a sec. Should thumbs up this feed to help run the algorithm. Thank you, Jesse. Really, that's true, you guys. I'm going to point that out right now. Spread the word, because the more we can get this message out here, it's just going to improve the quality of life for everyone. We get so, me included, we get so bogged down in all the day-to-day, and then we lose our beautiful animal companion. And I posted a little, it might not have posted yet, the video that I did earlier on this, but I spent my whole life trying to fit in. So I spent a good 60 years just trying to fit in with the crowd. And I always felt left out. I always felt like an outsider. But my dogs never made me feel that way. My dogs never once made me feel like an outsider or made me feel left out. They know us in good, bad, or indifferent. They know who we are, and they chose to be with us. And when they cross to the other side, we can really get buried deep in the grief. So I would love to be able to offer to you this tonight, imagination, but with these videos, just ways to help us heal and ways to help us understand and to let go of fear. Because if we can get rid of the fear keeps us from doing all the things that we want to do. Fear keeps us from jumping out of the airplane. Fear keeps us from everything that we really want to accomplish. We don't become the ballerinas, the astronauts, and the and whatever, the brain surgeons, because we're afraid that we can't. And then we are further reinforced by our society, by our teachers, by our parents, and with the most well-meaning intentions. But I remember when I wanted to be a veterinarian, and my guidance counselor told me that I was not smart enough. Literally told me I was not smart enough and I should just go to school for business. Why do we do this to our children? In fact, instead of being taught to ignore imagination, like we're taught that's just her imagination. And this was the part on the Joe Rogan video that I really liked, when he's gone, oh yeah, that's just Billy being an astronaut on Mars. That's just a silly imagination. He'll outgrow it. We should be teaching our children how to harness, and I purposely use the word unleash in the little title, but we should be teaching our children how to harness their imagination, how to use it to the best of their ability so that they don't grow up being unfulfilled, that they don't have to wait until they're 60 years old to step into the life that they always dreamt of, that they can do it right away. Okay, so I'm getting hot because I'm getting worked up here. Let me hang on, I'm going to turn on a fan. Okay. 100%. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not silly at all. It's not silly at all. First of all, for all the feelings. So I'm jumping ahead, and I said I was going to like focus not on the comments until a little bit later. So let's keep focused. Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard is the other person who I listened to regarding imagination. And he told stories of how he used his imagination, and then he taught how to do it. And I'm going to give you some of those insights this evening. The other person I'm going to mention is Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla, you may or may not be familiar with him. His name has come up more and more. No, he was not the founder of Tesla cars, just happened to be named after him. Nikola Tesla had so many inventions, and he used his imagination for all of them. If you read any of the stories about Nikola Tesla, he is purported to have said that none of his inventions came from him or his own mind. He used his imagination, and he would access and harness his connection to the universe, to the quantum field, to God, Allah, Buddha, Source, Spirit, the divine, whatever you want to call that cosmic thing that created everything that is. He could tap into that and use his imagination to come up with all of the inventions that he came up with, and that we all have this ability. It's all inside our noggin right here. Our brain is not our consciousness. Our consciousness comes from somewhere else. And our brain is just like a heart that beats blood. Our brain thinks thoughts, and our brain receives information, and it brings it to us. Our brain interprets our surroundings. So our brain is a wonderful tool, but we've turned off a little piece of it that we really need to learn how to use again. So Nikola Tesla, I'm going to give you a couple different examples here. Nikola Tesla would use a form of automatic writing. So you guys know that I like to use my pen, I like to use my paper, and I will close my eyes. I use meditation to tap into my imagination. When I do these readings from your animal companions, it is a form of imagination. And it's not that it's make-believe, it's that I allow myself to imagine, what would it be like if Mimi were sitting right here in the room with me? What would it be like to feel Mimi curled up on my lap? What would it be like? And I wrote down some ideas, because those are the questions that I ask. What would it be like if Mimi were right here? If I could feel her sitting on my lap? If she had a voice, what would she say to me? And right away, I did get something about that, and I wrote it down here. What would Mimi sound like if she were here with me? Oh, she would bat the pen out of my hand. If I were writing some of the things that she were going to say, I got the sense that she would just bat the pen right out of my hand. And what would she say if she had a voice? Yeah, we'll save that. We'll save that for later, because she did give me some insights into that. So I use my pen and I use my paper, and I close my eyes. I meditate. And by meditate, I mean, I just quiet my mind, and I focus solely on what it is that I want to focus on. And I begin to write. I allow my mind to tap into that higher consciousness, and I trust it. I believe it. I've come to trust it from you guys. When I first started this, it's been about 18 months, I think, since I said I would do the very first little reading. And I'll be honest, I was petrified that I would get it all wrong, that I would sound stupid, that I would be foolish, that I would be judged, and once again feel like I was an outsider. But you guys have so validated everything. Even when the information doesn't come out 100% the way we think, there is always something that rings completely true. And so I've learned to really trust my imagination. So now I use it all the time, all the time. So I use automatic writing. Nikola Tesla would use, I thought I put my keys here, but I don't have them. He would use two little silver balls, and he would hold them in his hand, and he would sit in a chair, and he would start to doze off as if he was going to take a nap. And he would set his intention about what he thought he wanted. So I'm just going to make something up. He'd like to be able to do something different with electricity. I don't know. And he would hold the silver balls in his hand, and he would gently drift off as he was sitting in the chair. And when he was just about to doze off, of course, his hand would open because he was relaxed, and the little silver balls would drop onto the floor. It would wake him up. And as soon as it woke him up, he immediately would write down, draw, craft, draft, whatever it was. He would immediately pull into existence what had come into his mind. He would make it come into existence on paper and then build it until it became something. And that's how he practiced with his imagination. Neville Goddard used the as-if technique. And the as-if technique I find a little challenging, but the more you practice it, I think the easier it becomes. Neville Goddard would always approach whatever he wanted to create as if it had already happened. So what would it feel like? He would sit in his little rocking chair, and as he was dozing off, he would play. He would play in his mind, what would it feel like? I've done this and seen it work. What would it feel like if I was on a boat? I think that was one of the examples he used, was on a ship. He needed to be on a ship. He wanted to go visit his family, and it was at a time before air travel was very frequent, and everything was done by ship. And he wanted to be able to get onto the ship and go to visit his family on the island in the West Indies. And he would sit in his chair and visualize what it felt like, visualize the rocking of the boat, visualize what his birth would look like, visualize every single detail about what he wanted to happen. Now, I've done the same thing and seen it come into reality as recently as a flight that I took a few months ago. I visualized, I wanted to go somewhere. I visualized I was laying on my bed and I turned on the fan, and I visualized that the sound of the fan was the sound of the airplane, and that I was not lying in my bed. I was resting in the window seat of the airplane that I wanted to be on, traveling to where I wanted to go. That's the kind of example that you would use if you were going to practice as if. And we'll talk about what that means when it comes to our animal companions in just a moment. Now, Joe Rogan, going back to Joe Rogan, the idea is to influence your brain. So talking in contemporary terms, if Neville Goddard and Nikola Tesla are more old-timey guys, Joe Rogan, I can't remember the name of the person he was interviewing, don't remember, some neuroscientist, but you guys can look that up. It's about influencing your brain. And the study that he quoted was from the Journal of Neurophysiology. And what they did was, there's two different studies. There's multiple studies, but these are the two that I recall the most, the most vividly. One was playing the piano, and they did it in a clinical setting. So they had a group of people who they taught a little song to, and they practiced it. They got to practice it every day on the piano. Then they had a second group who was taught the same song, but then they were sent home and told to only practice it in their mind, to practice it as if they were actually playing on the piano without playing the piano, all in their brain. And then they had a third group that was a control group that didn't do anything at all. They weren't allowed to do anything. And what they discovered was that the patterns in the brain were exactly the same. They were identical for the people who were actually playing the piano and the people who were thinking and imagining playing the piano. So your brain does not know the difference between real and imaginary. And everything has been imagined. Everything has been imagined. I wouldn't have a selfie stick unless somebody had imagined it first. We wouldn't have candles if somebody hadn't imagined it. We wouldn't have electricity if someone hadn't imagined it. We wouldn't have anything, nothing. There's nothing, no water bottles, no mugs, no pillows, mattresses, memory foam. Memory foam came up, by the way, Katerina. I'm not sure what memory foam has to do, but that's why that's on my mind. Mimi was saying something about memory foam. Everything, no book, no movie, no fiction, nothing would exist without imagination. And why we're taught to disregard it is beyond me, because we can harness it and use it. And the second experiment was with weightlifting. So they did the same thing. They had a group of people who were allowed to actually lift the weights, and they had a group of people who were only allowed to imagine that they lifted the weights. Not only did their brain patterns match, but their physical strength of the people who only imagined that they were working out improved, as well as the people who were actually working out. Okay. So that's the three people that I really, oh no, one more. There's one more name. If you guys may have seen this, he's now just become really popular again on YouTube. But his name is Terrence Howard. He's an actor. Not sure if anybody's familiar with him. He's an actor. He was in Iron Man. He was in the television show Empire. There was one other thing that, one of the Big Mama movies. Anyway, he's a more of a character actor in several different movies. And if you go back and look at some of his videos, he has some of his older stuff is popping up on YouTube. He's also been talking about this stuff forever. He's got it all together when it comes to how to use your brain to create the life that you want for anything, including being able to talk to interspecies communication. It should be a natural thing. It should be a natural part of what we do. That was last week's conversation, though. Okay, so let's daydreaming. I wrote daydreaming because we are taught to not daydream. Anybody ever hollered at in school for daydreaming, for looking out the window, for not paying attention in class? Because I know that I sure was on the very first day of class. I was not a very good student early on. It took 3 years to break me. When I first got to elementary school, first, second, and third grade, I was a little terror. And it wasn't until third grade when the nuns finally broke my spirit, I guess. But I came back. I came back strong. So we're taught to dismiss daydreaming, and daydreaming is a wonderful way. Daydreaming is such a good way to access your imagination. Why do we daydream? We daydream because our mind is going forward and picturing something that we have a desire for, something that we have a desire to do, to be, to participate in, and we shouldn't disregard it. We should actually go do those things and take baby steps. I believe that it's Mike Dooley who says, for everything that you desire and that you imagine, just take one baby step in the direction of that daydream, and then let the universe do the rest of the work. All we have to do is identify what it is and use the imagination. What else did I want to say about Terrence Howard? Oh, just that he is going to do he has done some of the steps that I'm going to recommend in just a minute. Okay, quick look at the comments. Katerina, your bed. That's funny. Yes, maybe it's your bed. Okay, I'm just going to go back a little bit. I'm going back up here to when parents are in fear of the unknown. Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of comments that have been flying back and forth here, so I may have to go back and look at them. But yes, number one, we acknowledge all feelings, all feelings. That little mini video comes out later this week about acknowledging our feelings and leaning into those feelings. Yes, we all, you are in a group of like-minded souls. We've all got animal companion souls on the other side of life. And that's why we are working through this together, not just through healing, but in understanding that we can let go of fear. And I think it's Kimmy who said that it's parents who fear. Everything's based in fear. Parents, teachers. Why did my guidance counselor tell me that I wasn't smart enough to be a veterinarian? Because she was afraid that I would apply to do all this work and then just get rejected. Well, that was a silly fear. And that wasn't her fear to have, but it's all fear-based. And we are afraid of we're afraid that our children won't make money. No money in that, little girl. How silly, how silly. We can change the whole world if we would just tap into our imagination. Carl Jung is another. Yep, Carl Jung is another one. Carl Jung, if you guys want to look up another powerful and I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact that everybody has to be like a PhD, but Carl Jung was a psychologist, and more than a psychologist. So if anybody wants to look up Carl Jung, he has a good one. He's got lots of good stuff about this, all kinds of good stuff. I should have looked him up before starting this. Maybe I'll save that for next time. Every time I do that, I start to cry. Oh, that's okay. You know what? It is totally okay. When we're going to talk about some of these steps towards using our imagination, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel the sadness. We feel it. We have those emotions for a reason. And we've talked about this before too, guys, that the depth of our grief is only a reflection of how deeply we loved, and how deeply we're connected to them. And that's all there is to it. And it's okay. But sneak peek again at the little video that I put out, it'll be out later this week, is that we can lean into those emotions, but I recommend releasing them. Release. Shout at the wind if you need to. Shout, scream, cry, pound something. It doesn't matter. Let those emotions out. Only set an intention. Ask the universe to take them, because the universe takes them and transmutes them. That's alchemy. It transmutes them back into love, and we can just wrap our arms around ourselves, feel our little animal companion right with us, and refill all those empty places with love. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. And I promise that I always say thank you also on behalf of all of our animal companions, because I wouldn't be here without any of them. I wouldn't be doing this unless they had opened my eyes to all of these possibilities. Landscape mower, speeding motorcycle. Oh, imagine the sound of it being a jet ski. I love it. I love it. Yes, that's what we do. That is exactly what we do. We're going to go over some steps in a minute. Daydreaming is a form of meditation. Yes, it is. Imagine exercising in your head. You can do it. In my head, I taught myself to drive a manual, a stick shift car. I taught myself in my head because I couldn't get it out on the road. And then when I was actually in the car trying to learn, it's stressful. You're in traffic. And you've got somebody sitting in the seat next to you, called a husband, who's screaming at you that you're not doing it right. And then the clutch doesn't go. Anyway, so I taught myself in my head. I sat down in a chair and pretended that I was in a car and that I was moving the gear shift, and taught myself to drive stick shift. YouTube is acting weird tonight. Oh no. Sarah, your guidance counselor told you the same thing. I'm sorry, you guys. If this is like acting up on you, I am so sorry. It just knocked me out. And there was an ad. Okay. All right. So let me, I will check all that. Because there should be like during our live streams, there should be no breaks whatsoever. Like when I do regular videos, I have no choice, but ads will pop up, but there should never be an ad in a live stream. Good to know. Thank you, guys. What the heck? Look at all you guys saying that you got an ad. Don't worry. It'll be the last time that happens. I will I'll find out what settings are not accurate, because there should never be an ad during my live streams. Okay. All right. Is everybody back? Now I wonder how much that makes everybody miss. I don't know. Kathy, somebody told me that you couldn't be a vet either. I think part of it has to do with the competitive nature of the veterinary field, which in and of itself needs to change, because there's such a shortage of veterinarians and veterinary professionals and veterinary technicians. But in particular, veterinarians, there's only a handful of schools that offer the education. Of course, you're going to go deep into debt in order to do that. And it's highly competitive in terms of grades and what you have to do in order to get into vet school. I get that, and that part needs to change. But nobody should tell us that we aren't smart enough in order to do it, because all it takes is a little hard work, a little elbow grease. Okay. I am so sorry about the ads, guys. Don't think it missed much. Okay. Oh, good. You hit skip. Okay. Awesome. And I got some sun coming in here. We're going to go with it. But I'll double check that doesn't ever happen again. Okay. All right. Let's talk about how we use imagination, and then we'll get into the reading for little Mimi. So the first thing that you need to do, the number one thing that you need to do in order to access your imagination, is to believe. You have to believe that it's going to work. Now, I would recommend before, unless you want to, I mean, you're more than welcome to immediately sit down, close your eyes, set an intention that you're going to be able to connect with your animal on the other side, and then imagine what that would feel like. Imagine, just like I did with Mimi, what would it feel like if they were right next to you? What would it feel like if you felt their breath on your face? If they licked your leg, or somebody was talking about how they felt a tingling sensation against their leg where their dog used to lay against them. Anything like that, you can absolutely ask right away. That you can sit down and say and visualize, and just like with the jet ski or just like with the fan, what would it feel like to, okay, I'm going to have to close the blinds because I'm being blinded. Hang on. Being blinded by the sun is not a complaint. I love the sun. Okay, that's going to be better. Okay, hope no more ads popped up while I was off screen. What's interesting is that I've been told most recently that some professions will take certification courses. Yeah, some will. Yeah, it depends. I mean, there's all kinds of things now. In fact, there are all different types of, because I have experience in higher education as well. There are all different types of certification programs that you can take at universities where you don't have to actually go for the master's degree. Or an actual like 4-year degree. You can get a certification in a particular field like human resources, or if a certification in IT, or a certification in whatever it might be. So there are schools that are offering certifications, and more and more employers are being open to that because of the shortage of qualified employees in the workforce. But that's my old HR lady coming out in me. That's the old HR lady popping out in me. Oh, hello, Beardy's mama. Good to see you. Okay, so what do you want to do if you're going to actually use your imagination? Step number 1 is to believe. Suspend your disbelief. Trust that you're going to be able to do this. So I would recommend starting with something small. Start with something small, like visualize yourself finding pennies everywhere. I love to use that example. It's an easy one. Visualize yourself everywhere you go. Every time you open the car door, every time you walk into a store, you're going to look down and find pennies or dimes or nickels or whatever it might be. I sing this little song to myself: a penny, a nickel, a quarter, or a dime. And it just happens. I find I am the savior of coins. I love to find coins. So that's an easy one. It's an easy way to start. So it's just like learning the piano, where you might practice your scales or learn to play chopsticks, and then it becomes easier to play more and more complex music. It becomes easier to imagine more and more complex things, or more and more conceptual things, like being able to connect with animals on the other side. So believe that you can do it. Commit to doing it. So make a decision that you're going to do it. You just tell yourself, we're going to do this. I have imagination. You have used it since you were a child. Go back and think about all those times when you pretended you were going to be this, that, or the other. I used to pretend that I was on a ship, and I was on the Calypso with Jacques Cousteau. It was one of those shows that I love to watch all the time. It was I can't remember the name of the show. Kelly, what was the show on Sundays with Jacques Cousteau? I don't remember, but regardless, I would pretend that I was on the Calypso. Go back to those times when you pretended that you were jumping from a helicopter, when you were jumping from a tree. Any of those things, that's using your imagination. And I would tell you to decide to do it. Then you want to visualize. Now, I have 2 things to say about visualization. You visualize with your senses. So visualize what it would smell like, what it would taste like. Try to think of what those details would be, what it would smell like, what it would taste like, what it would look like, what it would feel like. Think about emotions. Emotions are tied to our imagination. And this is another Neville Goddard technique. If you can create the strength of emotion that you would feel around what you're trying to create, it will happen even faster. Emotions are tools. Emotions are tools that can either leave us stuck or they can move us forward. And we want to choose to use the ones that move us forward. So what would it feel like if you suddenly realized that the spirit, soul, energy of your animal companion was sitting at your feet? What would that feel like? And I don't care if you cry, so what? Let your heart be full of that feeling. What would it feel like when you're laying in bed at night and you're just drifting off to sleep and all of a sudden you realize that they've jumped on the bed? What an amazing feeling. How good it would feel to know that they're there. So think about the feeling you would attach to it. The other thing I have to say about visualization is that when it comes to concrete material things, if you're not one of these people that can actively visualize, not everybody is as good at picturing things in their head. I like to use my other senses. So sound is an easy one for me. Smell is an easy one for me. Like when you imagine the sound of the airplane or the sound of the jet ski. But if you have difficulty visualizing, one of the things that you can do is what's become very popular, over popular, is a vision board. Only when a vision board for material things is where you assemble pictures. A lot of people now do it on their computer. They'll put up a picture of their new RV or their new car or their new home or whatever it is that they want, and it'll be on their computer screen every time they open their computer. It can be on your screensaver every time you open your phone. Or you can actually create a vision board, which is where you use publications like magazines, newspapers, and books to cut out pictures of those things, and you place them on your vision board, and you put that board where you can see it all the time. And that is for creating and materializing material things, calling into reality material things. A vision board is a way of helping you define what it looks like in a way that you don't have to think about it in your head. Like, I wonder what it would really look like in my mind. For that Sprinter van, what do I want? Gray? Do I want white? Just cut out the picture and put it on your vision board, and it's there for you all the time. You leave it somewhere, like on your bathroom mirror or somewhere that you can see it all the time. I recommend, for when it comes to connecting with animals on the other side, that we use our imagination to create a memory board. So create that same kind of vision board, only let it be all memories of your animal companion. Again, tears are fine. If it makes you cry, beautiful, because you love them so much. Pictures. It doesn't even just have to be a vision board. Like I have my little, it's more of a memorial now than anything else, but I have paw prints, a little bit of fur, the collars, pictures, everything of my animal companions. And I'll tell you about Gypsy in just a second, and what I visualized about Gypsy and how that came to be. So create a memory board of your animal companion and have it at your bedside. Have it somewhere near you when you go to fall asleep at night, because that's the easiest place. Falling asleep is the easiest way for you to make connections, especially when you have any kind of doubt, because your conscious mind is letting go, subconscious is taking over. The last thing that you're remembering as you fall asleep is your animal companion. It's not about the fight that you had with your sister. It's not about the boss. It's not about any of that. It's about your animal companion, and you use that time right before sleep. So memory board is the other way. The other way to use your imagination. So our brain is the greatest fiction author. And I think that was a Joe Rogan quote too. I can't take credit for that. Our brain is the greatest fiction author of all time. Think of all the things that you can come up with in your brain, all the worry, all the fears, all the doubts, all the things that you constantly put through your mind. Like what if, what happens if, what if? We think up all these scenarios, and the thing is, most of them never come true. Most of them don't ever come true. So our brain is the greatest fiction author of all time. So use it to your benefit. Write the things that you want to write. So if if you want to make a connection with your animal companion on the other side of life, write a story, write a song, write a poem, draw a picture, use photography, go take pictures, use the memory board, whatever you want to do to physically stimulate your imagination about them. And if it includes writing a new story about how it feels to adopt a new animal, write a new story about how it feels when the first time that you actually make a connection with them, what it feels like to have your heart be back together again, to have all the little pieces come back together, all of those things. Write a little story about it. Write a song, a poem, draw pictures, anything at all that helps you stimulate your imagination. The other thing that you can do is use gratitude. A lot of times when I say fill your heart with love or let your heart feel their love, love can sometimes hurt, right? That's the thing that makes us cry. So gratitude is actually a little softer. Gratitude can be a little easier if we use gratitude. So think about all of the times that all the beautiful, wonderful memories that you have of your animal companion, and then think about them with thankfulness and gratitude that you got to spend that kind of time with them. That helps open things up a little bit. Surround yourself with those who support you. That's what we do here. That is what we do every single Monday, is surround ourselves with people who are right with us, people who believe like we do, people who not question us, people who not think that we're crazy, people who won't dismiss our emotions, people who won't make us feel like outsiders. So surround yourself with people who support you. And then believe. Now there's a couple different ways, so I'm going to give you three more things. Imagination can be specific or imagination can be general. So you can say to yourself things like, I want to imagine, I want to feel, I want to know that my animal companion is still right with me. And I'm not quite sure what that feels like, but I know what it would feel like. I know how I know I would get chills. I know I would get an instantaneous sense of knowing. And I want to specifically know that my dog or my cat is sitting right here at my feet, and I want to hear their toenails on the floor. You can get that specific, or you can just be general. I just want to feel better. I just want my heart to stop hurting. You can be very general about those the things that you want to imagine as well. And then the power of two. The power of two or more. This comes up time and again. I'm going to use a biblical reference. I believe it's a New Testament reference. I'm not a person who can quote the Bible, so I can't like tell you what verse or anything, but that when two or more people come together, when two or more people come together with the same intention, it's easier to do. So which is why with this group, it's also a little bit easier. And if you've got a family member or friend, or you start to connect with people in the group, it's easier if more than one person is with you on the imaginary journey, on this journey of your imagination. So the power of two or more, it makes things easier to create. And then imagination is prayer. Prayer is a beautiful form of imagination. If it is easier for you, if all of these things, if you say, okay, I need to believe, I need to decide, I'm going to visualize, I'm going to feel it, then I'm going to write a story, and all of this is too much, just pray. Prayer is one thing that we've been taught since we were little that is on the right track. Now, most of us pray for things in a begging sort of fashion. Most of us pray for things like, please, 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 please. Oh, please, if you do this, I'll do that. We bargain and we pray and we beg and we plead. But we can simply pray with gratitude, pray with love, pray that you know that you're connected. You let your prayer be one of connection, be a prayer of co-creation, that you understand that you and God, the creator, source, that you're in this together, that you've got support, that your animals have got your back. And make the prayer that tonight I set the intention. Please allow me to feel this. I'm ready to feel this. I'm open to receive. I love that one. I am open to receive. And just let the prayer float off into the universe and let that be the use of your imagination. And then practice. Practice, practice, practice. Practice as much as you can. Just like playing the piano or just like lifting weights, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't get all those muscles by one trip to the gym. He's in his 70s and still goes to the gym. Make it as common as brushing your teeth. That's how often you should practice. Practice, practice, practice. And then it's just going to happen for you. It's going to begin to happen. The more that you practice, the easier it becomes. And you are going to be able to draw to you your animal companions. They're right there with you anyway, but you're going to understand what it really feels like to connect with them when you use your imagination. And then you can use it for anything. Start to use your imagination for all kinds of things. If there is something physical that you want to bring into existence, that you want to materialize, the buzzword these days is manifest, but I would rather say co-create. You can use it for anything. You can use it for absolutely anything because this is your world, your life. We don't even know that all of us sees the same thing. So I've got a picture of a lion back here, right? But we We think that we all see the same thing as a lion. We think it all has the same thing, but we don't really know what everybody else is seeing. So focus on you. You do you. And if there's things that you desire, there's a reason you desire them, and you can call them into your existence through use of your imagination, a very powerful tool. Now, we didn't get to dreams, so at some point in the future, I'll get to dreams. But I want to share my little story about Gypsy real quick, and then we're going to move on to I'll look at questions, and we'll move on to Mimi's reading. I really miss Jack, Lucy, and Winston. Jack and Lucy were with me since they were puppies. So they spent all 13 years of their life in my life. They were with me always. They have been by my side forever. And I think about the places that we used to go on walks. I think about the camping trips we used to take, that we knew each other so well. So I knew when something was up with them. I knew what they liked and didn't like. I knew what their favorite foods were. Everything. We knew everything about each other because we spent all those years together. Winston was only with me for a few years, but he was just he was my little soulmate. He went with me everywhere. So where Jack and Lucy were more homebodies, Winston went everywhere with me. Every car trip, everything, everywhere I went, every dog sitting, you name it, Winston went there with me. Winston loved to be just with me wherever I happened to go. And I really miss them. I miss the walks with Lucy. I miss Lucy's crazy little eyes. She was a foodie. And if there was even the remote hint of food, and she could use her imagination to kick up some food, let me tell you. If there was even the remotest hint of food, Lucy had this look in her eyes that I can't describe. And then she would begin to drool. I mean, the strings of drool that would come from her mouth. Jack was like the lion. Jack had this huge mane. He was a yellow lab, but the fur around his neck was literally like a lion's mane, and I could rub my hands in it. And he would do this stretch, and this that only I could just picture a lion doing this stretch. And then there was Winston, who I called my little snuffleupagus, and he was because he snuffled, and I would just hold him in my arms, and he would make this little snuffleupagus noise. And I really miss them. When Gypsy came into my life, Gypsy was a different dog than she is now. Gypsy was a rescue. You know, she's blind, and she was rescued out of a pretty nasty situation. And when she came into my life, she was fearful and timid and aggressive. Aggressive because she was fearful. And we did a little. I remember the first day she only needed one training day because she's smart as a whip. And I took her to be trained, not to train her for obstacles. I wanted her to be able to go up and down stairs, to be able to avoid tripping. There were some things, because she has no eyes, that I thought it would be helpful to help her learn. And I thought, for a couple of weeks, I thought, she's beautiful and I love her, and I will not ever give her up. I will not ever let her have to suffer ever, ever, ever again. She's found her forever home, but she wasn't Jack, Lucy, or Winston. And then little by little, over time, as I thought about how much some days I wished she was more like Jack. Some days I wished she was more like Lucy. Other days I thought that it was more like Winston. And then little by little, she kind of became all of them. And I don't think it was just wishful thinking. I think it was them coming through me, saying that all animals who enter our life can be the companion that we need them to be. And somehow Gypsy has evolved over these past 4 years into this beautiful soul that is a combination of herself and all 3 of my other dogs. She drools, she gets the foodie eyes, she does the same stretch as Jack, and snuffleupagus like you wouldn't believe. And then there's her little personality too. And I truly chalk it up to not just imagination, but the energy that still exists in our home of those beautiful 3 animals. So I use her as an example that anything is possible with the power of our imagination. And then there are people who would say to me, but that's all in your head. Of course, she's not like Lucy. And of course, she isn't like Jack, and she's not a little King Charles. No, it's all powerful imagination, and it's all real. Okay, before we do Mimi, I'm going to check for questions one more time. Let me scroll back up a little bit. Mantras. Oh, good, good, good. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. What is that? I pretended I was a queen. American accents. Okay, so I'm not following the whole conversation. I'll go back and look at some of those comments. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Not sure what that is. My numbers are of... Okay. Mantras. So that is another good one. Mantras are beautiful. I use a mantra. I use all kinds of mantras, but you can use any mantra. The Ah mantra is a very, very easy one. And by using a mantra, it helps you get into a space where you can quiet all those thoughts in your mind and allow your imagination to kick in. A mantra like the Ah mantra is called japa meditation, and you just go Ah. It's the only sound where you don't need to use anything. You don't use your tongue, you don't use your lips, you don't use any, it just comes straight from your diaphragm. Super easy meditation. The other meditation that I find helps my imagination is the N meditation, and that's to pronounce the letter N by pressing your tongue against the roof of your mouth. And the vibration that goes through your brain opens your pineal gland. So that's another way to access your imagination. Keep Phoebe's picture. Yep, I've got pictures, paw prints, everything. Whatever you've got works as a great memory board. Their fur, some teeth. Yep, I've seen teeth. I've seen toenails. I've seen everything. I haven't worked at the funeral home. People say all kinds of things. And then every time I found one of Rosie's hair, I still find Jack hairs. We call them pony parts because his nickname was Pony. And we call them pony parts. I always save the pony parts. And we find them years later. Intuitive dev class. Nope, it's not your imagination. It's not just your imagination. It is your active imagination, your real imagination. And nobody here is crazy. Nobody's crazy. A quick exercise on automatic writing. Okay, yes, we can do a quick exercise on automatic writing. Butcher this explanation by listening to something yesterday. When you randomly start crying when you think of your pet, it's because their energy is right. Yeah, it's all about energy. I'll say two things. We've got to get to Mimi's reading. The first thing I'm going to say is their energy is always right here. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. I use the example of water. Water can be ice. Water can be steam. Water can be water. Water can be a river. It can be snow. It can be it takes any number of forms. It could be the ocean. Water is always water, however. Same thing with our animal companions' energy and with all of our departed, transitioned loved ones. Their energy has not gone anywhere. And I say that the veil is the thinnest when we are at sleep. And it's not, veil is not even the right words for it, but we can, where was I going with all that before I said the veil was thinnest when we go to sleep? That their energy is no energy is created or destroyed. It simply changes forms. So they're not in their physical body anymore, but they've entered the beautiful field of energy that surrounds everything. And we can access that energy with our imagination. We're accessing that energy. And if we cry or if we feel chills, use your imagination to look at the clouds like when you were a child, and you will see them. Look at your imagination to look at anything, a flower, trees, all of it. Is our imagination in ways that we can connect with the energy of our animal companions. And energy is not just I'm not just saying it as a metaphor. It is the literal field of energy that they have entered. And they've simply shifted from a physical form to a non-physical form. And our imagination gets us there. Automatic writing. This is what I do. And you can practice this also. I use a plain old Bic pen. It is my favorite pen. I have a whole box of them because I love them so much. I like a pen that writes in a certain way. I just like the way that it feels. I love the way that it flows. I use a plain old copybook. This one happened to not make it so well through the flight, and it got all crinkled. But I use a plain old spiral copybook. And when I sit down, I believe and I trust that I'm going to be able to connect. And when I ask to connect to a specific animal, I know that truly it is the spirit of the universe, the spirit of God. It is that universal energy that has taken the form of a beautiful animal that shared my life and was a piece of me, or that shared your life and you have invited me to connect with them. I believe it 100%. There's just not any doubt anymore. It's gone. I believe it. and I either ask them to connect with me, or I visualize, like I said with Mimi, I visualize what it would be like if Mimi was right in the same room with me. And I got a sense of Mimi in a darker place. I don't mean like bad dark. It was just dark, like nighttime, and stone. I don't know. Maybe that's because I visualized what I had this stereotype of homes to be in England, but I pictured an older stone home, like, I don't know, stone bridge. And we were in this beautiful room, and a fire was in the fireplace, and I could see alcoves, but that could be my imagination, but I would love to know, Katerina. So I ask those questions. What would it feel like? I allow myself to feel. And then I ask, is there, for me, I ask, I would love to have some information that I could share with your human companion. Or I ask, I would, is there anything that you want me to share? Is there information that they should know? Anything at all? And then I trust that the universe and Mimi, we'll use Mimi as the example, are using my body and my pen as a way to express themselves. So Mimi now is pure, beautiful, positive energy surrounding us everywhere, and she can't write. So she uses me and my pen, and I sit down and I write. I might write a word. I might write a thought that comes into my head. I might write a color. I might write an object, and then it becomes a phrase, and then the phrase becomes a paragraph. And I just write. I write the things that pop into my mind. And because I know that they're not random, that things that pop into my mind are meant for me to share. And I trust them all, and I write them down. And that's all I do for. Then now, if you're going to do this automatic writing, in the very beginning, I have books and books of these journals. In the very beginning, I didn't always read them right away. I would go back a few days later and take a look at them, because I didn't trust myself to believe what I had written. But now I believe everything that I write down. It's that easy. It doesn't have to be a complicated thing. As long as you believe and trust and know that the universe is this field of energy, and our brains are meant to tap into it. We are built. Our bodies are designed to tap into this energy. I'm sorry, I'm losing. I'm going on, and I'm just looking at my little clock over here, counting down the time. So that's a quick spell and a quick lesson in automatic writing, and we can go into that deeper at a future time. Okay, another ad just popped up. Crapola. All right, sorry guys. We're going to take care of that. This will be the last time that ever happens. I'm trying to catch up. Books, curtains closed. We used to keep the curtains closed when you went to work. Okay, so I did get a sense of darkness, but do you introduce yourself to an animal you do not know? Oh yeah, I always introduce myself, but here's the funny thing. The introduction usually happens because I receive an email with their picture, and all I have to do is look at that picture. I look at the picture and I look in their eyes, and I can almost feel them immediately. And it's like only every once in a while do I get a sense that an animal companion is not ready to connect, but more often than not, the animal companion is ready to connect quicker than I am ready to take down all the information. But yes, I will sometimes introduce myself, but a lot of times the introduction is really fast and really quick. Okay, let's do Mimi's reading. We can talk about more of that. We have Mondays and Mondays and Mondays to come yet. Okay, so for Katerina, I am hoping and praying with all my might that it was a very powerful reading. Very powerful, and it left me feeling like tired. I was physically tired after it, because I just felt I felt such strong emotion from Mimi, and you'll see when I share this information. So a very powerful message, and possibly one of the most powerful messages that I've ever received. I am going to try to I will not share too much personal information. So there's some personal things, and as I deliver the messages, you'll probably understand what they are. The first thing that came up, the first word I wrote down was spirit babies, and that you'll know what that means, spirit babies. But then it came more where Mimi was telling me the word spirit, and that was the most important word, was the word spirit, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Mimi also told me that you don't need evidence, You already know that you are connected to Mimi. But she did tell me a couple of things. The first, the memory foam came right up, something about the memory foam that popped in my mind. And then that she was very, prissy is not the word. She was very particular about her body and her self-care. I just get a sense that she was very particular about making sure that that she was always just so that she was very particular about her self-care. That's the best way to put it. Okay, heavenly guides, children by your side, and Mimi is one. So heavenly guides, children by your side. I'm just going to read it as it came to me. And yes, Mimi is one of them, but more than one of them. Also, the name Humphrey came up. Now, I'll tell you why the name Humphrey came up. She instructed me to mention the name of Humphrey because Humphrey is another kitty cat who looked very much like Mimi. And he was the companion to another person. And I get the sense that Humphrey was Mimi right before Mimi was Mimi. So Humphrey is the kitty cat of a friend of mine who passed away. It's got to be, I don't know, a dozen years ago. It's been quite a while since Humphrey has crossed to the other side. And I got the immediate sense that Humphrey came back instantly as Mimi, and that Mimi has been here time and time and time again. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. She says that she has, that prior to you finding her, she had no prior life. She materialized. She says that she had no prior life. She knows that she just appeared. She appeared specifically for you, and that there's nothing prior. So prior to the night that you found her, there wasn't any other existence. There's no memory for her to share. She just became. Also that she's ageless. She's not 14 or 15, but she's actually had hundreds of years of life. And she has helped countless women. This is where this came in. She has helped countless women and you in a past life. She immediately reincarnates every single time she passes. So Mimi has already come back, and she wants you to know that she is comforting another woman at this time, and that you're not meant to worry about that. You're not meant to think that she's not there for you, because her energy is so powerful and so strong. And there's more to share about this in a minute. Her energy is so powerful and so strong that she is like in multiple places at the same time. I've shared before how I get a sense of animals being multidimensional, but this one in particular, I sense has more power in that than others. So she is right now, she instantly reincarnated, and she is right now comforting another woman. She is a soul pet to soul sisters. That's exactly what came through. That some sisters, you may not, your soul sisters, Katerina, and some of these sisters you may not have met here on this planet this time around, but you've always known them. You've always known them. And when it comes your time to go to heaven, you'll know exactly who they are. You will be reunited not only with Mimi, but with all of the sisters that she has ever comforted. And it's making me a little bit emotional. Okay, so she is forever bonded to you. That's the other thing that came through. Her soul is like a diamond, and it links to you and to the spirit babies and to all the soul sisters. And I had this visual of this diamond, and that the diamond was all the facets of the diamond were all of the were everything. And it's a giant, beautiful energy, combination of energy, a blend of energy that's Mimi and this whole group of women that I see, Okay, she does not want you to feel empty. She came to you to help your heart and to help you feel whole. She does not want you ever to feel empty, because she is not physically present. That's the last thing she wants, is for you to feel empty. You are not empty. She wants you to take that diamond and let that diamond become your heart and let it fill you up. She wants you to be full, complete, and whole, because her passing now connects you. Her crossing connects you to every other woman who has ever experienced loss. Heavy duty emotions coming through. So we're just going to take a nice deep breath, and I'm going to repeat that. Her passing, her crossing now connects you, Katerina, to every other woman who has ever experienced loss. It's still making me cry. Okay. Grab a tissue, everybody. Dare I say it? Yes, I wrote that. Dare I say this? Mimi is God. She says that she is the divine. She is the mother. And she came to you to help your heart be healed and to be whole. And she never wants you to lose that feeling of being healed and whole. Oh, okay. That is everything. It was very emotional, Katerina. It was emotional when she first came to me and I thought that I had it under control. Clearly I did not. Tissue for me. I thought I had it under control. And a lot of times when I write those things, the emotion comes through me very deeply and I feel it very intensely, but I'm able to deliver it in a way that is not quite so intense. So I'm sorry that I started to cry. Okay, so let's see. Sage is a mystic. Yes, your soul pet. Yeah, she is more than a soul pet. Like she is the mother of all souls. I don't know quite how to say this. Like, I don't know, like the mother of dragons, she's the mother of all souls. And Mimi came to you as that cat, but she's so much more. She is so much more. Water in my eyes. Yeah. Water in our eyes, water on our face. You always knew that she was special. Yeah. And I understand the missing. I do understand the missing, to miss our animal companions. And every single one of us who's here in this group knows that feeling. I'm getting such a deeper sense from her. Like when you fall asleep tonight and use your imagination to go to sleep, I sense something incredibly powerful coming through. She is, I've said this before, there's other animals that come through very strongly, very intensely, full of magic. Mimi is there. There's a powerful energy there that you'll be able to tap into to fill that hole, And she's going to give you some information. I sense this too. As you fall asleep tonight, I feel information coming through that's meant just for you. That will be a message of healing that I'm not meant to deliver, that I'm not meant to know, that she'll be able to share directly with you. So much love in her eyes. She's, I'm so sorry interesting that you used the word broken. For the very first time today, as I was posting all my little videos, I do those little short videos. For the very first time as I did that, I used the word broken. And I've never used that before. I don't know where that came from, but I used the hashtag broken. And so interesting that you used that word. I know that Mimi does not want you to feel broken. I know it with all my heart that she does not want you to feel broken. And if you need her to come back, she'll find a way back to you. She'll find a way back to you. Right now, she flat out told me that she was comforting another woman, that there was another woman who is your soul sister that she is comforting right at this moment in time. For all of us, when we need our animal companions to be there for us, they'll be there. They're always there. They've always got our back. Always, always. Okay. She will be by your side forever. You got it. Kimmy, always, always, always. You don't feel whole without her. I know that's what she does not want you to feel. That came through loud and clear. She does not want you to feel empty, was the word she used. She does not want you to feel empty. She wants you to feel full, complete, and whole, because her passing now connects you to every other woman who has ever experienced loss. There, I said it without starting to cry myself. Okay, that is our reading for this evening. That is everything. You must tell her that you feel empty. Okay. She hears you. She hears you. So tonight, as you go to sleep, try to practice using your imagination and invite her to join you. Invite her to show you something that will help you feel fuller, that will help you feel whole again, that will help you feel more complete. Okay. You just found a community of fur baby lovers. Yeah, we're here. We are here for each other. We are always here for each other. And the more you guys can spread the word, I would greatly appreciate it. I'll figure out the silliness with the ads. That's out of control, and that will not happen again. And I think that's all I have for you guys tonight. All right. It was so nice to see you guys again this evening. Another Monday has come and gone, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again next Monday. And until then, thank you for joining me, and may animals light your way. Take care.